Hi, I'm Kay Castrotaro, the founder of Penlight LLC. This is going to be an interactive session, so I'm going to give you a moment to grab something to write with. It can be a pen and paper, it can be your laptop, it can be a typewriter, your phone, whatever you like to use. And while I tell you a little bit about myself, you can number your paper from 1 to 31, right down the side. Don't worry, I promise this is not a test. So I'm an expressive writing facilitator, which is basically just a person who helps people harness the power of words to create more satisfying, efficient, and peaceful lives. I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of satisfaction, efficiency, and peace. It's a little ironic that I'm doing this work because I went through about a decade where my life was anything but those things. I went through a divorce. My children experienced some abuse. I had a lot of parenting challenges, and it all kind of piled up and resulted in burnout. So during that time, when I was in burnout, I struggled to do anything. Like the dishes piled up in the sink, the paperwork was cascading all over my table, and my finances were like a complete mess. My version of a healthy meal was ordering apple slices with my kids' Happy Meals. Like things were not great. Eventually, my stressors reduced and my coping mechanisms were strong enough to keep me in a good place. And I wanted to start organizing my life again. The problem was that it looked so overwhelming. I felt like it would never, ever happen. Then I learned this amazing strategy. It's called the Topics du Jour. And it was designed by an amazing journaling guru named Kathleen Adams. And I got to tell you, like, this has completely changed my life, and I want to help you change yours as well. Within a week of applying these strategies, my house had a visible change in it. Like it was visibly more organized. In less than 3 months, I was actually managing my finances instead of just ignoring them and racking up overdraft fees. I even had energy enough to chase after my 2 young teenagers and get them to start cleaning up their stuff. Pretty impressive. Yes, I was happier. I accomplished more in less time, and I had way more peace with myself and my environment. So, you want some of this? Of course you do. Let's get started. So, earlier, I had you number your paper from 1 to 31. Each of these numbers corresponds with a day of the month. It's okay that not every month has 31 days. I promise this is still a very powerful technique, even if you miss a few days. In fact, when I do this, I usually don't do writes on Saturday or Sunday. Saturday sometimes, but Sunday almost never. And I still see amazing benefits from this. So it's okay to miss a day or two. Beside each number now, we're going to get started. And I would like you to write down something in your life that is really important to you or that you would like to make more of a priority. When you're numbering, you might want to make 30 like the month ahead and 31 review my list. So that way on the 30th of most months, not February, but that's okay. Who wants to look ahead in February anyway, right? So on those other days, on the 30th, you can kind of look ahead and just say, all right, what are my priorities for the next month that we're going to be facing? And then on the 31st, you can review your list and say, oh, I don't really want this topic here anymore. So like you might be able to see, this is my Topics du Jour. And it really was actually done on a on a typewriter. I have an old 1940 something typewriter that I used. And there are a couple of spots here that one, I had like my sales tax reporting for my business down there. And then I realized I really didn't need to have that on the Topics du Jour. So I changed it to service and advocacy so that every month I look back and I say, how have I been serving my community, or how have I been advocating for things that are important to me? So you can always just shift them around and change the whole list if you need to. Some of the things you can write down on your list, you can write down things for yourself. It could be starting a new hobby. It could be eating more healthily. Maybe not the Happy Meals. I don't know, just saying. They can be household responsibilities. So managing your finances, taking care of the yard. I have property maintenance is one of mine. They can be relational. So visiting with friends, calling family members. They can be professional, taking a course, getting a promotion. So whatever you care about is fair game for Topics du Jour. The only suggestion I have is to try to skip around so that the same types of topics aren't bunched all together. So, for example, I have time alone with my son as one topic. I have time alone with my daughter as another, and then time alone with my sister as a third. But I didn't put them all together like 3, 4, 5. I put them on 4, 17, and 26. So I could kind of not get bored with just looking at the same general type of topic. If you need some suggestions as you're writing, some of the things on my list are finances, marketing my business, laundry. Yes, I do actually monitor how I'm doing with the laundry, writing poetry, and my podcast schedule. So those are all things that I want to keep up on. So I'll give you just another second. If you haven't finished your list yet, it's totally okay. You can complete it later. When you're doing this on your own, you might want to have a dedicated notebook or a 3-ring binder or even an accordion folder where you can just drop things into the pockets for your topics du jour. As I showed you before, I have a 3-ring binder. It's a very small 3-ring binder. I don't like the really big pages because you don't do a lot of writing at once. You just do a little bit. And so having the small pages really works for me because it takes about one side unless I'm really feeling motivated. And then, both sides, it's plenty for each entry. And then I have just these little top tab dividers in there so that I can go and find the numbers more easily. So instead of them all being, packed together. So that means every day on the 1st, I'll open my first tab and I'll say, oh, look at that. That's my finances one. Just makes it easier to organize. Okay, so here's how this works in practice. Each day you're going to find the number that's the same as the date. So let's assume it's May 3rd. You're going to look at the number 3 and see what you've got on there. So my 3 is, my 3 is weight and health. I'm still struggling with that one. I haven't quite gotten that one. Anyway, so then you'll write the topic at the top of the page, and then you're going to set an alarm for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. If you're really motivated and you really love to write and all that kind of stuff, and you want to go beyond the 5 minutes, you can, but you don't have to at all. In fact, I find it to be very helpful to just limit myself to 5 minutes because then it doesn't feel burdensome. And I kind of stay in my own lane and I'm more likely to do it every day. So you write on that topic for 5 minutes. What have you done in that area over the past month? What would you like to do in that area for the next month? How does the topic make you feel? Are you happy about it? Are you angry about it? Whatever it is. Then when the alarm goes off, you're going to reread what you wrote and write just 1 to 2 sentences about what you noticed when you reread it, what surprised you, maybe how your body felt while you were writing or while you were reading. Whatever comes to mind. Now, I will say this reflection piece, this reread it and then write something down. I never used to like to do this. I thought it was a waste of time. And it's not. It's actually really, really important because this rereading part and the synthesis is when your brain really starts to make connections. And oftentimes that last little sentence or 2 will have something very profound that you weren't expecting to see. Or it can help identify a barrier that's keeping you from doing some of these tasks, or something that you're really proud of with this task. So you'll definitely want to remember to do that little reflection right. Now, if we were doing this in a workshop, I would ask for volunteers and I would listen to you all read, but we can't do that in this setting. So instead, I am going to read you one of my old rights so you have an idea of just what this looks like. Okay, so here's one of my old rights. This one is entitled Hanging with Grandpa, because after my grandmother passed a couple of years ago, I realized that I really wanted to make spending time with my grandfather more of a priority, like something that I actually was managing instead of just doing, hit or miss. So this was one of my first reflections on this one. I was thinking of this Wednesday when I went to the farm, and this morning I spent time with Grandpa at a birthday party, and I've seen him before a couple of farm meetings, but I really want to do better. I feel a little resistance to making a date with him. Why is that? Honestly, it would be lovely to just sit beside him in Grandma's chair, knitting and watching Matlock reruns. Or I could take him to visit his sister. Today, I will call him and make a plan for next weekend. So that was my right, and the 5 minutes were up, so then I wrote my 1 to 2 sentence reflection. I notice that I don't really want to dig into the reason for the resistance. I wonder if it's enough to acknowledge it, hold it close as a part of myself, and move forward anyway. So that was it. So when I finished that, I made that little reflection. I didn't feel the need to sit there and mull over it more. I just wrote it down, closed my little journal, put it away, and went on with my day. What you will notice as you do this is that suddenly you are finding opportunities to make progress in these areas. As you take these little steps and write about them, you will be encouraged to do more and more and more. One situation that was a perfect example of that for me was we have a very small house, and my closet and everything is now in my daughter's room. So I don't actually have a bedroom. And so all of my laundry was getting piled up out in my living room because I was having a hard time getting into my daughter's bedroom. And so I did a journal write on that. And this had been a problem for me for months. I would get so angry about the fact that this laundry pile was sitting in my living room and it didn't belong there. And after one of these writes, I realized this is silly. I just need to solve the problem that's bothering me. The problem that's bothering me is my laundry's not put away. So I went out into the garage. I grabbed one of those 3-shelf laundry containers. It used to be a bookshelf. Now it is a laundry container, because I went and I got some of those cloth baskets, put them in the bookshelf, put the clothes in there. Now I have a little dresser. It looks perfectly great. My clothes get put away. I'm not fighting with my daughter about the condition of her room, so I can get in there to deal with my stuff. Great. Less fighting with my daughter, more happiness for me. All is well in the world. So that's a couple of ways to use this. There are lots of variations on how you can use your topics du jour. I have a weekly schedule where, to help me keep my house clean, I will assign a different portion of my house to a different day of the week. So Mondays, I do laundry. Tuesdays, I do the kitchen. Wednesdays, I do, my office, something like that. Anyway, they've all got their own day, and they're written down on my calendar, so I don't have to remember them. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the only time I will, that I won't do my dishes, for example, if it isn't Tuesday. But on those Tuesdays, I actually focus on those areas. So I don't write about them on those days. I just take a few extra minutes to invest in tidying up that area. So it could just be something very small, like maybe on the bathroom day, I have some clothes that are sitting there or something. Or, I had a very messy cupboard with all of my Tupperware in it, and it was driving me crazy. And so that was one day I said, okay, I'm going through the cupboard and I'm making sure that I have a lid for all of my Tupperware containers, And anything that doesn't have a lid gets thrown out. And any lid that doesn't have a container gets thrown out because they're not doing me any good and they keep falling on my head. All clean, all tidy, everything matches. And it didn't take me that long. So the real beauty of this is that even if I skip a week or only do like one tiny thing, maybe I don't have time to go through all of the cupboards, but I've got a few papers that are sitting around and I just say, all right, I'm going to just file these 2 papers. It's a step in the right direction. And what I have learned is that if you are able to take that like one step, just do one little thing, they add up so quickly. And like my house not only stays cleaner, but it actually keeps getting cleaner because I find myself making better use of the time that I have available. So one of my time sinks is I spend a lot of time talking to my sister. She and I are best friends, and we talk nearly every day. And I used to just like do the dishes while I was talking to her. And then, you know, if there was no laundry around, I'd just like sit on the couch, put my feet up and chat with my sister. Now I don't do that because there's always in the back of my mind all of these lists of to-dos that I want to do that don't distract me from talking to her, but also give me an opportunity to make progress. So maybe I'm washing the door to the kitchen, or I'm going to wipe down the overhead ceiling, like any overhead ceiling. Is your ceiling overhead? My ceiling is overhead. I mean the overhead fan or ceiling fan. I put those together. But then that's clean. And I'll tell you, like jobs like dusting, I hate them. Absolutely hate them. So if I'm making progress in getting that done, it's amazing. It's a great thing. Another way you can use this is one of my friends has more of a seasonal approach. So she has certain tasks that she does either in a certain month or in a certain season. Now, this is not a brand new concept. I mean, how many of us grew up with the idea of spring cleaning? I think actually my great-grandmother also did fall cleaning. I'm lucky if I do spring and fall cleaning. But that was when we would like take the screens out and, you know, brush them down and wash your screens. And we do the outside windows and all of those kinds of things. But like curtains, maybe your curtains only need to come down once, twice, every other couple of months or something. So you can have certain months that you just say, oh, I'm going to do this month. Then you can keep up with those activities and make progress and feel more in control of your space. So now I'm curious, it's your turn. How are you going to use or adapt the topics du jour to meet your personal goals? Because what works for me and the things that I need to keep track of might be different than the things you really care about and you really need to keep track of. But we all have things that need to be, you know, monitored because you really do only monitor what you measure. So if we put it down and make a plan, that's going to help us to get where we want to go with that. So I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a message at pen-light.org or penlightfarmers.com. No spaces, no nothing, just penlightfarmers.com. You can hit my connect with me page and let me know how your topics du jour worked for you. All right, go forth and pen light.